In Lake Superior, there's a strain of lake trout that live the majority of their lives in depths over 250 feet of water. It's said that these trout are 10 times as abundant as lean lake trout, which represent the majority of fish sport anglers catch on a yearly basis, trolling or jigging in waters less than 150 feet. These fish live a different life, a life of solitude, a life of mystery, a life not really known to most anglers. Some say this strain of lake trout lived so deep they were untouched by the sea lamprey, which by the early 1940s virtually exterminated the population of lake trout in all other Great Lakes. With larger eyes, smaller heads, shorter noses, and large bellies, they are a deep water specimen that is imperative to the overall ecosystem of Lake Superior. With the average depth of Lake Superior being 483 feet, one can only imagine what swims below. So on Lake Superior here, there's 4 primary types of lake trout. You have your redfin, you have your lean, you have your humper, and you have your Siscowet. Now Lake Superior's the only lake with like actual subspecies of lake trout, and if you're a fisherman, those are kind of the main 4. There's some scientists and biologists out there who can probably identify some more, but to us fishermen, like those are your 4 main ones that sure, you can identify. Yes, there's some, crossbreeding between them, and it's hard to tell some, subspecies of lake trout, tell them apart one after another, but those are generally your primary 4. And what really defines them in my mind is kind of their behavior and the depths that they inhabit on the lake. Now, your lean lake trout, for example, like fishing around the Apostle Islands or around Duluth, your nearshore fisheries, like those are all lean lake trout that people catch. Sure, there may be a Siscowet here and there, a big redfin may come in, but the majority of that catch is lean lake trout. And there's a lot of them, right? Like it's nothing to have 30, 40, 50 fish days like for lake trout. Like there's a lot of lean lake trout. But it's estimated that out here on Lake Superior in your deep waters, there's up to 10 times more Siscowets than there are leans, which is just, it's pretty hard to comprehend. And surely there's way more deep water out here than shallow water. The average depth of Lake Superior is, right around 400 or over 400 feet. Like there's a lot of deep water out here, but there's also a lot of Siscowets, and that's kind of what our goal is today, is to catch a Siscowet out of deep water. Now, let's get a couple kind of housekeeping items out of the way first. All the information that we portray is from a fisherman's point of view. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a biologist. We're fishermen, so this is all from like a fisherman's perspective, from our experiences, what we've known, or what we've known in the past, what we've taught ourselves throughout the years. Number 2, I'm not advocating everybody go out and catch lake trout out of super deep water. Yes, there's going to be some mortality involved, but today we have cold temps. We're going to consciously bring fish up slow if we do catch them, and we're allowed 9 fish. Like we have 3 guys in the boat, 3 fish apiece. We can keep our 9 fish, and the fish aren't going to go to waste if they die and don't release. But a Siscowet, having so much fat content in its body, doesn't really need to use its air bladder to adjust coming up from great depths. Now lake trout, these Siscowets, there's studies out here, and we'll leave links down below in the bio, but there's confirmed documentation of Siscowet lake trout going from 400, 500, 600 feet to the surface 10 times a day, right? Just naturally doing that to get bait, to get food. They're so well adversed at going up and down in the water column. So, sure, we may have a fish or 2 die if we do catch fish out of this deep water, but hey, I mean, legally we can keep 9 fish, so you know, and they're not going to go to waste if they do not release. So yeah, I mean, we're kind of in the spot that I want to identify here, right around 300, maybe push out to 400 feet of water, and just kind of see what happens. So let's idle around here and zoom in on our graph and see if we can even graph something down there. I don't know. I've definitely graphed lake trout in, you know, 200, 220 before, but this 300 to 400 stuff is a little bit new to me. So we're just gonna idle around here for a little bit and try to find a place to drop some baits down. Out here on Lake Superior, there's just so much structure where it goes from like, you know, 50 to boom down to like 5, 6, 7, 800, and that's super steep drops. Like, they just don't hold fish. Sure, fish might just cruise the sides of those, but I don't think that's going to hold a fish. So really, what I'm looking for right now is kind of the shelves, like feeding shelves, and so like. The diet of a Siscowet, and you know, again, a biologist may be able to, you know, tell you more specifics, but from our experience in catching deep water fish, like the primary forage for a Siscowet lake trout is eel pout. Like, they love to eat eel pout. And where do eel pout live? Eel pout are not going to live on shelf rock. They're not going to live on sand. Eel pout live where there's kind of boulders where they can get down and hide in the rocks and escape the lake trout coming after them. So, you know, I'm kind of looking for what would be good habitat for an eel pout right now. And how can I tell that in 290, 350 feet? I watch my Lowrance, and I think Lowrance is very good in deep water. You know, if I'm getting a solid yellow return, a yellow ping, to me that kind of signifies shelf rock. If I'm getting more of a bluish kind of muddled return on the bottom, if it looks more squiggly and bluish lines like that there, I mean, that means rubble. That means you're not getting your transducer ping is going down and it's kind of hitting a couple different depths down there, which means big, you know, rock down there, which the eel pout can live in, and also your lake trout as well. So, you know, there's so much deep water out here. There's so much depth for these Siscowets to be in. So we're just kind of try to find something that's a little bit, you know, that I think that they'd hold on. And then, you know, it can take an hour to find that. We're just going to continue to idle around until we see something good. All right, we set up shop here, 305 feet of water. Again, this could be a total bust, or it could be kind of like the start of like a whole new fishery out here that I've never explored. I mean, trolling, you can only get so deep, like you're limited what, 200 feet of water? Like, it's hard to get a downrigger deeper than that. Like, it's kind of an untapped fishery, like out here in the deep waters on Lake Superior. Like, these fish have never seen baits, right? Like, it's just the abyss down there. There's just so much deep water out here. So what we're gonna do is kind of take a St. Croix saltwater spinning rod. This is an 8-foot heavy power. We have 25-pound braid, and we're gonna rig up some 20-pound leader on it as well. So, and then for jigs, we're just going to use big heavy tube jigs. You know, you just want something that can fall fast and get down to where those trout are. So like, this is a 6-ounce bait here, like a Bondi bait that weighs, you know, we have some that weigh 12 ounces for that. So just, you know, just to try to get down deep to where these Siscowet lake trout may live. And I just say may, like, you know, I don't know if we're going to catch a fish or not, but this is something I've wanted to try for a long time, to get out here and just, again, it's just kind of an unexplored fishery, this really deep water stuff. So let's get a bait tied on here and send one down. It's going to take a while to get to bottom. All right, let's send her down. We're just gonna kind of make small moves in this area. Again, you just gotta pick an area and just have confidence in it and just give it time. You just gotta have patience, which I don't have too much of, but we're gonna have to have it today. and you know, just keep moving until we get a sign of life. It may take a couple hours, it may never happen, it may happen in the first 20 minutes. I don't know, but. And again, we're specifically targeting Siscowet lake trout, and kind of what's the, you know, what makes up a Siscowet. You know, they're a very fatty fish, and again, they spend the majority of their life in waters over 250 feet. Like, they usually don't come shallower than that for extended periods of time. Yes, they'll come shallower and, you know, eat and feed, but then they go back down to the deep waters. So yeah, you know, the Siscowet, it's a, you know, a fish that definitely shorter noses on them. They're going to be fat. They're going to be a little bit more pale in color just from the depths that they inhabit. They're pretty cool looking though. They're definitely unique, and they, you know, definitely look different than a lean or a redfin lake trout do. So I'm hoping we can pull one up out of the super deep water. That's a fish. It's a fish. It's a small fish, but it's a fish. It's a fish. It's a Siscowet lake trout on Lake Superior. How cool is that? 350, 360 feet of water. Jigging lake trout. It's a fish. Just letting that bait free fall into bottom. And I picked it up and it felt heavier than normal. Again, it's not going to be anything over 5 pounds, but I'm excited to see what a true Siscowet is going to look like. Like, there's no doubt in my mind this is going to be a Siscowet, because like, your leans aren't going to be this deep. Your redfins aren't going to be this deep. I mean, 360 feet of water. I mean, that's just wild. I'm just kind of trying to take it slow on this fish, just so we can release it. But again, if it dies, we'll throw her in the smoker. And I love smoked fish. Grandpa loves smoked fish. Well, it won't go to waste, but I'm excited to see what this is going to look like. I see it. Look at that. It's a tiny Siscowet, but look at, that's what's down there. That's what they look like. Again, on a miniature, almost a miniature scale, but like, look at, like, huge bellies, small heads, kind of pale in color. Like, that's what they look like. Hey, little guy. Look at that critter. I mean, just huge bellies. There's a little bit of air in there, but it's not crazy amount of air. Like, that's just what a Siscowet is like. And small heads, kind of, you know, some skinnier tail on them. That's a Siscowet out of 350 feet of water. How amazing is that? That is so cool. Short noses on them. Like, that fish has never seen a bait in its life. It could never even fathom being up here on the surface right now. Poor guy. We're gonna see if he'll release. If not, he's gonna go in the smoker. But a little lake trout, a little Siscowet. We've successfully done it in 20 minutes, half hour. Caught a Siscowet in deep water on Lake Superior. Let's try to get this back. She kicked. She kicked. I don't know. We'll see how. I don't know if that fish is truly going to survive or not. From my experiences, you know, the smaller fish like that, they just have a little bit more trouble in adjusting their air bladder and releasing. If that was a 5, you know, for sure a 10, but maybe even a 5-pound fish, they're just a lot better at adjusting a little bit when they come up. And again, these Siscowets just don't use their air bladders as normal fish would. They just have such high fat content, you know, especially as they get a little bit bigger. They're able to adjust and you can release them very well. I don't know, that one gave us a couple kicks. We'll keep our eyes peeled on the surface if it does come floating up, but she released for now, so that is pretty cool. Let's get back down there. He made it down, which is a good sight to see. It took him a little time, but I mean, I have confidence, you know, he made it down. And again, we're not out here to kill a bunch of fish. If, you know, we caught 9 fish and they all died and we had 9 fish in the box, you know, we quit fishing like this. Like, you know, you got to keep ethics in mind, but that's cool to see that fish at least made it down. You know, again, if you are fishing deep like this, keep an eye on the surface around you. Sometimes fish will go down 50 feet and then a minute later they'll float up and you'll see their belly floating. But, you know, I have confidence that fish at least made it 220 feet down there. That's pretty cool. All right, we're just gonna idle around here and try to find another spot to drop down. That's a fish. The creatures of the deep, the Siscowet lake trout of Lake Superior. And it's interesting to note, like, they say like the majority of your Siscowets don't have lamprey marks on them just because they live at such great depths. And it kind of makes sense because when the lampreys came into Lake Superior and, you know, wiped out the population of the lake trout and all the other Great Lakes except Superior, but they did quite a bit of damage. The only reason Superior's trout population sustained is because of your Siscowets that live in such deep water. Like your lampreys just didn't go down there. And you can tell that, you can just look at these fish, like they're just pale in color. There's, you know, they don't have like bright orange fins or lamprey marks or, you know, scarring on them. Like they're just kind of the untouched fish of Lake Superior just because they live in such deep water. It's a long way up. It's a long way up. What are we in here? We're in 360 right here. Another smaller one. Ooh. Look at that. And you can hear him burping, like adjusting his air bladder. So like this fish is gonna release just fine. But look at, I mean, that's truly a Siscowet lake trout. Isn't that cool? The short noses on them, pale in color. Like their meat would be just white if you filleted this fish. Unique fish, cool fish to see, ice cold. You know, catching a fish that spends the majority of its life in water over 250 feet. That's pretty cool. Let's send this one back. All right, girl, you got a long way down to go. She's going straight down. Like that one expelled the majority of its air before I even got it in, which is cool to see. And that's, you know, that fish wasn't even close to 5 or 10 pounds, but once you start to see those bigger fish, they're just able to burp themselves so much better. I can still go see it going down there. That water is so clear out here. That's cool, going straight back. Nice. This one feels a little bit better. This one feels a little bit better. Again, we're just going to take them nice and slow on the way up. As slow as I can to keep tension on the line. There's a lot of tension though. That's good. That's a good change of pace. It's funny, like, I don't know, I bet we caught 5 or 6 of those, you know, fish that were all in that same caliber of size, you know, 2, whatever you want to call them, 2, 3 pounders. But, you know, maybe that is what the majority of the biomass is out here in that really deep water. I don't know. Well, it'd be interesting to see what this one is like. If this is the same size or any bigger. It feels a little bit bigger though. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger of a fish. A little bit bigger of a fish. Let's hoist him in here. Oh, he got all lassoed up. Look at that. That there is another Siscowet lake trout. Big belly on it, short nose. They're so distinguishable, like just the short nose on these fish. I mean, you can tell right away that it's a Siscowet by the short nose and kind of the pale color and, you know, big bellies on them. Again, this one has a little bit of air on it, but there's no doubt in my mind this is going to be able to go right back down to bottom. That's cool. A little bit bigger. That's probably 5, 6 pounder. I love it. There he goes. There he goes. Let's take a look. Yeah, that one is, again, really deep water, over 300 feet. So, you know, no doubt in my mind a Siscowet. It just fits all the characteristics that, you know, a Siscowet has. So that's cool to see. Big heavy tube getting down there. It takes a while to fall, you know, minute and a half to get down there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that's a little bit better of a fish. I think that's a little bit better of a representation of what's truly down there. You know, there's got to be a bunch of big fish too, but hey, this is our first time ever doing this, so you never know what you're gonna expect. Okay, this is Lake Trout madness. This is a nice fish here. And Corey's got a big old Siscowet over here as well.
Add one to the convention here.
Look at that. This is wild. They don't have any quit. It's a nice fish there. Right there, boom, that's double. Big Siscowets. Like we said, when you find them, they're gonna be loaded, and we have definitely found them here in water over 300 feet. They are just stacked down there. Wow, this is the magic of Lake Superior. This is as fun as it gets. All aboard! Oh my gosh! Look at that. Double Lake Superior Siscowets. This is truly what it's all about. The power and magic of Lake Superior. She can definitely make you smile. But I mean, look at both these fish. Just kind of silver in color, shorter noses on them, super fat, and big, a little bit bigger fins. I mean, definitely Siscowet lake trout. Come out of deep water. You can hear her burp. That's good. That means she's gonna release well. Corey's looks like that one burped quite a bit on the way up. What a fun fight out of deep water. Big old lake trout. It does not get any better. This feels like a bigger fish here. Definitely got more weight. This might be that size of Siscowet that we're looking for. It's taking drag. Again, like, there's big Siscowet. Like, I think some of the biggest fish in the lake are gonna be Siscowets. Like, it's just truly unknown how big they can get because there's such a deep fishery out here that no one's explored. Like, no one fishes like this. This one is a little bit shallower, about 250. And she doesn't want to come up. She doesn't want to come up. I'm at a stalemate right here. It's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. This is cool. If there's like stuff we'd love to do, it's just going into the unknown, doing something new, doing something different, and you just never know what you can experience. It's so magical out here. It's so much fun out here. This feels like a big fish. It's just like awesome. Hundreds and hundreds of feet of blue water around us with some lake trout mixed in down below. This is going to be that Siscowet that we've been looking for. 250 feet of water. That seems like to be kind of the cutoff when, you know, the biologists, people in fisheries do their studies out here. And that's what they say, like 250 feet is kind of that magic cutoff number where, you know, any deep, that 250 and deeper, primarily all Siscowets. I can see her way down there. Way down there. She don't like the brightness up here, man. She does not like the brightness. I can't stop her either. There, she just burped a lot. And that's what those bigger fish can do is, you know, alleviate themselves of all that air a lot easier than the smaller fish. And look at the amount of air coming up. Like, this is a big, big fish. This is what we came out here to see. There she is. That's a big one. Look at her down there. That's a big fish. Look at this fish. Look at that. Look at her burp. That's a big ol' Siscowet right there. Oh, that makes the whole day. That makes, and she just come unhooked. That makes the whole trip right there. Like, our mission is complete. We've come out here on Lake Superior. You know, we did some research, and, you know, we looked out, you know, I'm kind of at a loss for words. You know, we know that there's Siscowets out here. We know that there's a deep water fishery out here. We know there's big potential, and we just found it, man. That's a big, big Siscowet out of deep Lake Superior water. Like, I mean, simply magic. Like, that's truly the cherry on top for today. You know, we've caught a lot of fish. We've had a great time, and to have a you know, 20-pound fish like that just top off our day is truly magical. So, wow. Let's take a look at this one and then send her back down into the depths. But this is a special fish. All aboard. This is a big fish, so it's going to take a quick look at her. And man, if I've ever seen a Siscowet, I mean, look at this. Not a lamprey mark on it, pale in color, big fins, fatty, short nose, looks like a dinosaur. Like, this checks all the boxes of a big Lake Superior Siscowet. That's it right there, man. That is it. Our mission is complete. Look at that. That is truly, truly magical. I mean, I'm at a loss for words. Just taking a chance. Just trying something new, huh? I mean, deep water. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg that what can happen out here.